Hi guys! Welcome to my channel. My name is ReadingBear and I hope you are ready for some more stories. And today, we'll take a look at some new legal advice content. If you enjoyed my content, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and post some bear emojis in the comment. And now, let's dive right into the stories.
The first one is titled, Someone Else is Listing My House. Palm Desert, California. A bit of background. My great-grandparents moved to California in the early 1900s and we've lived on the same land since then. In the early 60s my grandparents developed the land into a small, gated community, less than 100 houses. They kept 3, one for themselves, and one for each of their kids. When they passed, they left their house to me, their only living grandchild. I've lived in this house since the early 2000s. All taxes have been paid, and all estate fees and taxes were paid at the time of their passing. The only loan taken out against my house was well over 50 years ago and was paid off nearly 40 years ago. Yesterday evening I had 2 different couples knock on my door and request showings. I have no idea how they got past the manned gate, or what they were doing on my porch. It turns out they had found my house listed on a local real estate website and had arranged with the agent to have a showing at 5 o'clock, it was 4:55 at this point. We call the agent, no answer. We wait to see if he'll show up, 5:30 comes and goes, the couple leaves, and no agent ever shows up. While we were waiting one of the couples showed me a listing they had printed out. It had current pictures of my house, accurate specs, correct address, and even knew about a remodel I did, turning 2 of the bedrooms into a library. After they left, I went online to see if the listing was still live, and it was. It had detailed pictures of my house, inside and out, which would have had to have been taken less than 2 months ago, due to the library. I've called the listing agent 5 times, no answer. I've called the broker 3 times, and I've emailed them both twice so far with no response. I've called my parents, and they've confirmed that no one else would have any claim to this house. I checked my tax records, and everything has been paid, and everything seems to be in order on that. I have no idea how someone would think they could sell my house, or how they would have been able to get pictures of the inside. I'm not that social and I can count on one hand how many people have been in my house aside from me and my parents since the remodel was done, which it was done by a family friend, so I doubt him, or his contractors are doing this. Any advice would be greatly appreciated. Thanks for your time. Nay. My dad suggests I go to the county registrar to see if anything's changed on their end, but they're not open on Sundays. Update. 11/20, 7:45 p.m. I had all the locked rekeyed, and dead bolts installed on all exterior doors. It was expensive but great for peace of mind. We, boyfriend and I, then went to the police station, where we were promptly told it was a civil matter, and since it is possible that a guest took the pictures, and we had no proof of a breaking and entering, there is nothing they could do. In the parking lot my boyfriend tried calling the agent from his phone, no answer, and then he tried calling the broker, bingo. He pretended like he was interested, said he had 0 luck getting a hold of the agent, and wanted to see the house today. The broker said there may be an issue with it, and he'd have to get back in touch with him. Pretty much as soon as he hung up the phone, my phone rang, and it was the broker. He was apparently traveling internationally, and his phone didn't really have reception. He was very interested in what we had to say, and very concerned that something could be amiss. I told him my side of the story, from the house being listed, to couples showing up, to rekeying the locks, to currently sitting in the police station parking lot. He told me that he'd look into it, and he'd call me back within an hour. That was around 2:30 or so. Around 3:15 my boyfriend and I got back to my place after going shopping, and we pull up to find a woman waiting in our driveway, dressed to the nine. She introduces herself as the listing agent. I thought it was a man, but I guess I was wrong, darn gender-neutral names. Anyway, she said she brought all the documentation for the home, and that it was signed in person by the homeowner. My signature, or something close to it, was on the paperwork, but we've never seen each other before in our lives. We insist she take the listing down, as it's clearly not for sale. She agrees and says it'll be down as soon as she gets back to the office. We ask her to describe the person who signed the paperwork, but due to how many people she sees a day she couldn't really remember much about her. My boyfriend gets the idea to pull up Facebook and show her everyone that's been in the house over the past few months. The only person we couldn't show her was the one contractor that was a friend of a friend to the family friend. Well, we get to my boyfriend's brothers, whom obviously weren't them, but she instantly recognized his youngest brother's girlfriend, who was over about 2 weekends ago. We haven't done anything yet. She said she's going to talk to her boss and see if there's anything they can or need to do from a legal perspective, but the listing is already down. So, there you go, that's what happened. Is there anything we can do? Is his brother's girlfriend liable for anything? I'd insist she pay to rekey the locks, but the broker already told us he'd handle that, and the agent wrote us a check for the amount she was over, before we knew who did it. Should I just tear that check up and go after her? Update 2/11/20, 10:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. I have a locksmith coming in about an hour to rekey all my locks and install dead bolts on all exterior doors. After that I'm going to the police station with my boyfriend to report the break-in. I've printed out copies of the web page with the listing, and saved the images to my computer, thumb drive, and email. I contacted the family friend that did the work, and he's very close to 2 out of the 3 contractors that were working on my library, but the third was a friend of a friend, so he's thinking it could have been him. I've called the broker twice more this morning but haven't been able to talk to him. I've now left him 4 voicemails, and the agent listed on the listing 3 voicemails, along with several emails each. I'll update once I get back from the police station. Part 2. Still in progress. Update 3. 4:20 p.m., November 25, 2016. Credit. To make a long story short, at the recommendation of several of my new favorite Redditors, I checked my credit. First time I've actually ever done that, and it was easier than I had thought. Turns out I have 3 credit cards in my name, opposed to the one I carry with me, and I recently bought a 2002 Porsche and a jet ski. I have frozen my credit and have starting the ball rolling with reporting these as fraud. Insurance. I called my insurance company and they sent someone over same day to assess the damage. I didn't expect this. They took 2 garbage cans full of shattered glass and crystal, as well as the broken china hutch. At the agent's recommendation I took several pictures of everything I could, and a videotape of pouring the crystal into a larger container. He said it wasn't standard, but he could tell I was worried, and he rightly thought this would put my mind at ease. They weren't able to give me a dollar amount, but the agent said they were going to have it appraised and that if it what I said it is that it should all be covered, minus the deductible, and no depreciation would be applied. $500 for 5 figures worth of damage control? Count me in. Bo's brother. So far, the police have not taken any interest in him. I have no facts I can say about him, but the way he was acting during the arrest makes me think he had no idea of what was going on. Legal. I've placed calls to several law practices in my area and am waiting for calls back. Also, does anyone know if I'd be able to keep the car and the boat since they were bought in my name? She's been up to date on payments, and hey, free car, you know? So, I'll break this down into chunks to make it easier. Regarding agent. I'm told the listing agent that took the false listing went back and found copies of my boyfriend's brother's girlfriend's paperwork, and she had a copy of her ID, with my name and address on it. Broker. The broker went well above and beyond what I would have expected from him, especially because absolutely none of this was his, or his agent's, fault. He paid to have a security system installed in our home, the first year of coverage, and a total of 9 cameras outside, and 3 inside. This is in addition to paying to have all the locks rekeyed. This man won my recommendation for life, and if I ever sell, which I likely won't, he'll be the one getting the call. Anna, boyfriend's brother's girlfriend, since we had no damages, which weren't already covered by the amazing broker, the boyfriend and I decided not to press charges. That being said, the police did have me make a statement, and from my understanding got a warrant for her arrest. They're not really keeping us in the loop, just saying that they need to talk to her, and to let them know if we see her. Well, before all this happened, we had invited her and the brother over for Thanksgiving, along with the rest of the family, about 18 people in total, and she showed up still. The boyfriend and I played dumb, pretended we didn't know about any of it. Even my parents were good about not bringing it up, and my boyfriend called the police, and they were there within 20 minutes. She wasn't happy, and in her get away from trouble hissy fit, she runs into my china hutch, pretty much breaking everything in it, along with swiping the plates off the island like an immature child. The small claims court limit in California is $10,000, and I now plan on getting every penny from her. As of now, that's all the update I have. The police won't tell me what's going on with her case. All I know is she was arrested at my home, and I'm assuming with her little song and dance the police are going to try to slap her with every version of resisting arrest, assaulting an officer, etc., that they can. I plan on calling a lawyer to start filing in small claims court in the morning. Thanks for your guys' help the other day, you guys rock. P.S. The security cameras the broker had installed caught her entire fit and arrest, from start to finish. The police took a copy with them. Part 3. It's over. I will not be getting into details, and if anyone attempts to ID myself, or the victim, I will delete all posts and comments in this account. All charges have been dropped. Insurance should be making me whole minus the deductible. The fraudulently purchased property is impounded, and I'm not sure what will be happening there. If the original owners just want to reclaim it, I'm fine with that. If they want me to pay it off and purchase it, I'll do that. This entire ordeal got extremely out of hand, and the justice system failed. This girl was released on bail, and instead of feeling able to pay the consequences of her crimes, and instead of the state/government getting her the help she needed, she felt it necessary to take extreme measures. She is still alive, but I will not be filing any lawsuit against her, nor will I be cooperating in any criminal charges against her any more than the law requires me to. I may be the financial victim here, but she is the victim of a failed mental health system, and I refuse to cause her any more distress in her life. Thank you all for your help on here, I do appreciate it, greatly. Let me finish with this: if you know someone in need, or you are having dark or suicidal thoughts, please seek help. Even if it seems like the deck is stacked against you, people do care, and want to help. The next one is titled, Delusional Neighbor Bangs on the Shared Wall When Our Baby Cries and Nothing Can Be Done About It. I live in a duplex in Washington state with my husband and my son, who is only a few months old. My Phil owns half of the duplex and is renting it to us, and the other half is owned by an older woman and her adult daughter. My Phil has known the women for over 15 years and told us before we moved in that the daughter was mentally ill and had strong delusions on occasion that caused trouble with the previous tenants. The last tenants apparently had to get a civil anti-harassment order placed against the daughter, but eventually moved out when the behaviors never stopped. Apparently, the neighbor accused them of kidnapping and abusing their children and abusing their dogs. My husband and I brought our son home a few months ago, and we didn't have any issues with the neighbor until about 2 weeks ago. She has begun banging on and throwing things at the walls when our son cries. She screams at us as well, but I usually can't hear what she's actually saying. You know, over the screaming baby. And the 2 dogs going absolutely ballistic because of the banging. It's absolute chaos, and it has made my postpartum anxiety so much worse. Every time the baby cries, I experience intense panic, waiting for the screaming and banging to start. We have called the non-emergency police line twice when I can't handle it anymore and feel close to a meltdown, and the first time they talked to her, and she stopped doing it as often. Maybe once every 2 days. Tonight, she is back at it and worse than ever. The air quality is so bad right now from the fires that I can't let the dogs out for long to stop them from barking, and the barking makes the baby cry harder, which makes the neighbors scream and pound on the walls harder. The officer I spoke with says we can try to get a civil anti-harassment order placed, but he knew for a fact that her behaviors never stopped after the last tenants tried that, and he said his unofficial advice would be to live somewhere else. Is that seriously my only option? We can't afford to move, but I can't keep living like this. Update. My first post never got much attention, but the outcome was pretty wild. Short version. In October 2020, my husband and I were renting in a duplex where my Phil owned the half we lived in, and a separate family, adult daughter acting as caregiver to elderly mother, owned the other half. We brought our son home from the NICU in August, and towards the end of September the neighbor, 40s female, started to pound on the shared wall if she could hear him cry. The pounding escalated over the next 2 months. The neighbor bought a megaphone to yell through the wall and threatened to rip us apart. She called us child predators, and she'd yell obscenities and threats until 3 or 4 in the morning. The police were called multiple times, nothing could be done about it. One officer told us, "I'm going to kill you. See, it doesn't mean anything if I don't actually do it." The elderly mother hadn't been seen in several months, but requests for wellness checks were brushed off. The general advice I got was that as renters, we couldn't do anything. It was also suggested that this was reasonable behavior, since the crying baby was probably really annoying. Since my first post, we moved in with my grandmother for our safety. The neighbor ended up busting a softball-sized hole through the shared wall to scream at us, and occasionally just stare at us. The smell that came out of the hole was indescribably bad. Our security cameras recorded her coming to my son's nursery window at around 2 a.m. almost daily, just staring and holding her cat. It took until the end of January for the police to be able to enter her property. The elderly mother had been deceased since at least June, and the daughter had the corpse dressed in her Sunday best, rotting in a dead bolted bedroom. The news article said the mother died from natural causes. The daughter was taken to an inpatient psychiatric facility. The last one is titled, "I think my landlord may be dead or hospitalized and I don't know what to do. I will have been in this rental property for 10 years this year. In all that time, I've never actually met my landlord. He lives in another state. He used to have properties both in my state and in his state, but after the recession in '08 he mostly pulled everything back to his state. My original lease was for the first year here, after that we never signed another lease, but we've never had any issues at all about that. I've always paid the rent by making a deposit directly to his account at his bank. When anything goes wrong, he's quick to hire repairmen. We've had a good relationship for the last decade, even if we don't know what the other looks like in person. Cue coronavirus. My so and myself both work in the hospitality industry, and restaurant bars have been shut down for a month now with no clear end in sight. Unemployment hasn't kicked in yet and we haven't gotten any stimulus check. Rent is due, but we wanted to talk to our landlord about postponing payments until we started working again. The landlord's phone goes straight to voicemail. The voicemail box is full every time we call. He hasn't responded to texts or emails. We've been trying to get hold of him for over 2 weeks now. Although I've never seen him, he sounds like an older dude and I'm worried about him. I'm also worried about my household. What happens if he's not okay? I can provide other details if they might be helpful. Edit. My state is Florida. Landlord lives in Kentucky. At least, I hope he still does. Edit 2. I found the property tax information and it only lists his middle initial and a P.O. box for my state and county. Edit 3. Thanks to a lot of help, some info has been tracked down and I have an address that I'm pretty sure is my landlord's actual house, not just a P.O. box that might not be checked often. I'm going to send a certified letter over that way explaining my situation and proposing a payment plan for deferred rent. In the meantime, I'm going to keep as much money put aside as possible until I get cash coming in again, when payments will be resumed. I'll let you guys know if I hear back. Thank you to everyone who provided advice. Final edit. He's okay. His cell phone got stolen and he's still waiting on a replacement. Probably the best possible outcome, I think. Thanks again to everyone who reached out with resources and offers to help. Update. Lots of folks wanted an update post, so here we go. First off, I want to thank all the people who offered advice and help for this problem. I was able to find and get a hold of my landlord. It was not the most exciting or interesting outcome and I'm glad for that. Turns out the dude's cell phone got stolen. That's why his voicemail box stayed full. We got back in touch yesterday and are working out a pandemic payment plan for the rent during the shutdown. Sorry it wasn't a cooler story, but I'm glad it was a small first world problem and not something more sad. Thanks for listening.